move on to his human design, and then we'll be done. So in human design, his type is a generator. And that's because he's got the sacral center defined, and he has no motor, which could be the sacral, emotional solar plexus, or the root, or the ego. If any of those were connected to his throat, then he would be a manifesting generator. But because he doesn't have any connections to the throat, it just makes him a regular generator. And he's got the profile 5-1 and the cross of the Clarion, which I'll explain what all those are. So yeah, the generator is also known as the alchemist. This is the workforce and life force energy type. They're the builders and doers, the creatives, and they're designed to work. So the people who have this are just hard workers because they have tons of sacral energy that they're just carrying around all the time. They're the life force of the planet, essentially. They're the ones carrying around all the energy. They're the ones building everything, doing everything. They were, in history, they were the slaves. They were the ones doing all the work. But the goal of the generator is to find the right things to focus on. The things that make you happy to work on. But the work is a very important thing. So work was really huge for him, and he did a lot of stuff, a lot of activity. So that's what the generators are like. There's a lot of generators. 35% of the population are generators, and another 35 are manifesting generators. So that's 70% are all the generating types. But as you can see down here, all these people are generators: Carl Jung, Steve Jobs, Robin Williams, Mahatma Gandhi, Albert Einstein, Bill Clinton, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates, Joe Rogan, Richard Branson, Samuel L. Jackson, George H.W. Bush, Walt Disney, all kinds of people. There's tons of people that are generators. So that's his type. His profile is the heretic investigator, which is the 5-1. It's line 5 and line 1. This is the natural leader, guide, or teacher. And it deals with projection fields from other people. You kind of are always dealing with different ways that people perceive you. And so it's hard to show your true self because you're kind of always dealing with projections from other people telling you or seeing you in a certain way. And that could be either as like a savior or as a heretic. So this is kind of the archetype of Jesus. It's kind of what Jesus went through. He was the heretic. He was the savior and the heretic. He was the one who ended up creating a new religion through his influence that became the most popular religion on the planet. But at the time, he was crucified. So there was obviously he was dealing with projection fields from other people, which makes it difficult to deal with all these projection fields. So you can see with him, there's always some controversy with these people who have the line 5 heretic in their profile. So they're a little controversial. But a lot of people look up to them as well. So the one line makes you very deeply research oriented and meticulous, and you derive your self-worth from the work that you do. But the 5th line, all this stuff, makes you very seductive and charming. But if you look at all these people down here, these are all the heretic profile people. Adolf Hitler, Ramana Maharshi, Heath Ledger, Raoul, which is the guy who created the human design system, Martin Luther King Jr., you can see Savior Heretic there, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Ken Wilber, Vladimir Putin, same thing, Savior Heretic, Bernie Sanders, George W. Bush, Britney Spears, and Jordan Peterson. So it's the leader, but it's just really difficult to get comfortable, and like you have to like learn how to project yourself and your image in the proper way where your inner self is actually matching the outer projections from other people. You have to constantly adjust the way that you're being perceived so that you're matching it the right way. So it's difficult, but it's an interesting one. So his cross is the cross of the Clarion, which is the shocking messenger. It deals with shocking, initiating, and calling out new information. It shatters old patterns and communicates the unknown, mediating information. So everything that he's communicating about is destroying the old perceptions of things and trying to shock people in the process. Like people are shocked by what he's saying. He's initiating new things. But this comes into everything he did because he was dealing with the occult and like rituals and yoga, but also challenging sexuality. He was doing sex magic a lot. But everything he was teaching was he was a very controversial figure. He was known as the wickedest man in the world or whatever. So he's all about shocking, but he's communicating information that's shattering old patterns essentially. So that's what the cross is overall. So I'll go into each of the gene keys that are related to that, which are the 57, 51, 62, and 61. So the first one is 57, which is intuition. The high expression is having intuition that's in harmony with the outer world. You're sensitive to sound and vibration, sensitive to guidance and psychic perception. So he's basically psychic in the high expression of this. In the low expression, it's fear of what might be coming. You're tuned to fear. Instinct is internalized away from responsiveness into mental anxiety. So you're fearful and anxious in that sense. But in the high expression, you're actually psychic and intuitive. And he's definitely an intuitive. I think he was expressing his high expression a lot of the time, or a significant amount of the time. One of the gene keys is shock. That's the 51. And the high expression is facing personal fears, courageous leaps into the unknown. You're the first to initiate new things. It's portal into initiations and new awareness. And everything he did, like everything he taught, his whole Thelema religion, everything he did was all new stuff. And it was very shocking. And he was just engaging with that, facing his fears and leaping into the unknown and dealing with all this stuff that he felt like needed to be revealed to everybody. That was more of a shock. So that's interesting. On the low expression, there's a fear of shock and the unknown. You're shaken. You're trying to feel superior. You're reckless and depressive. But again, it sounds like he actually did do this successfully in the high expression. So it's interesting. Gene key 62 is organizing thought. In the high expression, it's synergy of heart and mind and communication. The intellect is in service to the heart. It's a mediator of universal truths and is a logical mouthpiece for abstract concepts. Low expression is just obsession with facts, using only the intellect, fixation on small details over big picture. And the logical mind won't work with the abstract mind. And there's inflated opinions that obscure understanding. So communicating abstract concepts and universal truths and being aligned to the heart are the high expression of this. So I think he was doing that as well. The last gene key we're looking at is 61, which is unraveling mystery. The high expression is a release of mental pressure into creativity, inspiring thought that integrates body as art, activity, expression, and curious inquiry. The low expression is the mind questioning itself into psychosis. It tries to understand concepts that are beyond mental comprehension. So this deals with a lot of creativity and inspiration and expression when it's in its high expression. So that's those four gene keys are what make up that Clarion cross. These are all the gene keys that are involved in that. So you combine all those different characteristics together, and it becomes this intuitive, shocking messenger that has something new to provide and share. So that's his cross. And we'll just look at his channels. So he's got the 1762, which is known as the organizer. So 1762 is this one right here. It's connecting the mind to the throat. This is the organizer and strategist. It expresses logic. It absorbs all facts and details to create a concrete opinion or recommendation and creates convincing arguments. They're futuristic think tanks, forever looking into the future to find solutions for systems, projects, and people. They're highly opinionated and forceful in debating. So it's like he's got his own logical process that he's always getting into, and he's absorbing all these facts and details to create his own opinion. And what's interesting about this is he's always working on it. He could be saying something in one day based on all the information he has and going into detail about all the different things that he's understanding. But this can constantly change day by day once he's getting more information and he's ready to adapt to that. But it gives him a very strong mental ability, communicating everything that he has, all his insight, and he's able to build his own way of thinking, essentially. So that's pretty cool. And his other channel is the channel of power. It's the 3457, which is this one right here, down here. It's these two lines right here connected. 34 is in the sacral and 57 is in the spleen. So the sacral is like the life force energy, and the spleen is more of like intuition, in the moment intuitions, instinct, stuff like that. So what this means is it makes you a powerhouse with empowering intuition. You can respond to your senses to create swift and decisive actions. There's power drawn to taking action to help others in distress. The intuition responds to cries for help, and they're propelled into action in interest of survival for self and others. So they're an example of how a self-empowered, vital, and unique human being lives, attuned to survival. So essentially means that his intuition is tied with his energy, powerful in that sense, and able to respond really quickly to things. So that's interesting to see that he's really tied to his intuition. His spleen center really explains a lot of his intuitive ability here. So that's everything here for his human design. He's generator, 5-1 profile with the cross of Clarion. All that really does fit with him really well.